Hey dear ones, I'm looking forward to talking to you about something very special today, namely timelines. And most people know very little about it, and there is also extremely little about the truth on the internet. I've been looking for a while now, and there's nothing that's really useful for us. So you could say, yes, we can do something with that. Nevertheless, when I mention the topic, everyone always gets excited and says they want more. That's why I thought I'd make a quick video. So I'll just start with the sentence so that you have an idea. It is definitely the case that most people, 90% of people, 80-90% of humanity, do not exist in this timeline or are not part of it. He does not live in this timeline, but is not only in this body with his astral body, but in parallel in different timelines, past, present, future, where he also exists. And it really is the case that most of the energy is available for these other dimensions. I don't want to philosophize now, but simply tell you about what I have experienced through regressions, where you can also recognize people who have certain behavioral traits nowadays, where you simply don't know what to do with them by the fact that they are still in a previous life, i.e. a previous life. So it really is the case that we are not just stuck in the past. Sometimes a spiritual healer or a seer will tell you that, saying that you are stuck in the past. But by that he doesn't just mean this life, but also previous lives. And it is the case with many people, without them knowing it, that the behavioral traits they have, whether they are character traits, prejudices, opinions, simply liking people or not, definitely have something to do with past lives. And that there are interruptions in which you find yourself in an earlier timeline, but don't even realize it yourself. Let me give you an example. You have certain characteristics, so you have certain phases of the day or the week or the month where you might not be in such a good mood, where you're just bad with yourself, where you can't take much care of spirituality, where you have a lot of eating phases, where you just say, oh, screw it, all alone in the corner, it's no use. And during this time you think that you're not doing anything at all, that you're not making any progress, that you're stuck here in this matrix, and yes, you're simply not a spiritual person at all. In reality, all your energy is being drained, you are in an earlier timeline. It may even be that you can't stand your own family members, your partner, your parents during this time and withdraw, and simply you send absolutely no feelings of happiness. You can't force yourself to feel happiness, love or gratitude, they just aren't there. It's as if the others don't exist. You are suddenly completely alone with yourself. These are the signs that you are in an earlier timeline in this moment. You also like to travel alone with yourself. You just don't want to talk to anyone, you prefer to keep quiet. These are also signs. So if you are not talking, 2001, a person who does not communicate, that is a very striking sign that you are in the past. You do things that make your family members think, well, that's not normal, he doesn't usually do that. What has now gone wrong, so to speak? These are the moments when you might have lapses, when you simply don't behave in a loving way at all, when you're not being yourself and can't stand yourself because you don't know where up and down is, what's appropriate on your day and what's not. And these are again the striking signs that you are in an earlier timeline with your astral body. And in this timeline, it's just a bit horrible when you think about it. The same thing always happens. It's just that you can't get out of it. Your astral body is earthbound, 2001. And he must be informed in some way by the energy you now have in this life, that life is already over and that he is dead. And that he spends all his energy there with e.g. mentally and emotionally helping, and of course ask the omnipotence of love for help. And so that he has these astral body parts available again in this life. And now the main problem with the whole story is that certain metaphysical powers and abilities that would actually have been available to you for this incarnation are still parked in the past. And now, of course, you think, yes, okay, it's just a life or 2 lives that I might be in the past. No, most people who don't get into spirituality, who don't make it, e.g., to completely differentiate their lives from those who live differently on this earth, who religiously pray after some invisible deities, who have never seen them before, with whom they have not spoken a personal word, who have not been able to form their own opinion, who simply run after these deities like minions, so to speak, without knowing where their head is. So they have no crown, no leadership, but they put someone else in their leadership. As I have said in previous videos, these people are simply hybrids. This means that they are only half or only partially incarnated in certain chakras. Now you might think, yes, they are artificially created by Earth's own raptor breeding genetic modifications of the Archons and so on, or the Anunnaki or Yusand. The big question now is whether they are in previous lives to the extent of their shares. And it's not just one thing, but now it's time to ask why we have become smaller and smaller. So I think it's clear that the history books and what we had in history lessons at school said that we were getting bigger and bigger, so that we would probably never even think about the fact that we had giants here on Earth. And also ourselves. When we are one with our astral body, we are between 3 and 4 meters tall. Remember the Avatar Body Seminar, how big we feel when I have straightened the spine of each individual. That is about 3 to 4 meters. This is actually our original size. Imagine that these also need a certain amount of energy to be operated. Just as our pineal gland already performs far too little in many people. You can see this from the fact that the bodies collapse, that they don't care what they eat, that they stuff themselves with food. They no longer have any consciousness because the drive for the body is reduced to a minimum, which is, of course, intentional. Analog, television, cell phone, Wi-Fi, cell towers, yes, thought field, and all this electrosmog around the Earth, around the Van Allen belt, you know what I'm talking about. Of course, all this also suppresses the main activity of the pineal gland. But what it mainly really does in the reality of the astral body is that in every previous life where you were incarnated here on this earth, and this, if you look at the historical thing, even if you only take maybe 10% of it, that corresponds to the truth. Even then, we certainly couldn't lead a real life, because cold, poverty, the regressions that I have done with my clients have also indicated that, for example, children were once merchandise that we gave to the church, in nunneries, for example. Simply cruel times, if you go back to the Middle Ages now, where there are even records of it, in different languages around the world, in different books. So we can partly assume that parts of it are true, and much of it is, of course, invented and a love. But these are all-bound. These previously incarnated soul parts have often just been executed, tortured. Think of the healing circle, torture. So when we went through all the energies that were exhausting in us, when we had resonances and realized that I had certainly already been burned as a witch, I had already been beheaded. These are simply things that you feel inside you. And if you have already felt this, then you know that these parts could not go into the next life redeemed, but that they are earthbound, place-bound, and time-bound. This means that the astral body repeats everything you have done on the physical plane. So if you were burned there as a witch, then the astral body is still doing this information to you today, because we are all connected, all in. Soul parts, past and present in the future, are all one and the same consciousness, because there is no such thing. There is no time. It all happens in the now. That's the only thing where something really happens. But they're still sending the pain all the time, that you've sort of had to give up your metaphysical powers to the Vatican, that you're abjuring using your wisdom, that you're serving the cherry and so on, hoping in yourself that you don't get burned. And then we were all burned or beheaded, executed. Imagine that this pain in the emotional body alone means that this is completely normal. If you now start another incarnation in a miserable new attempt of the soul to process this and to get you out of it again, with new energy, with a fresh start, just like the hen lays the egg again and again when you take it away from her and she hopes Now I'll get a new child. Now I'll hatch it, and before it becomes a chick again, they take it away from her again and eat it every Sunday. Then that's how it is. The soul does the same. It's exactly the same with animal souls. It is simply trying to bring a new baby into the world. Problem is, new body, new family, absolutely new changes of scenery and no memory traditions. Nothing looks like it used to. How are we, as unconscious people who are now growing up normally, going to school, being dragged to kindergarten, supposed to remember because of perhaps déjà vus or people we meet 2001 are actually here to finally take the old soul part off the cross or pull the axe out of the neck because it's simply no. Longer nose. And it continues to run in parallel. And the new part of the soul tries to give up something that is still being done here as a task in life. And that is this execution. In a continuous loop, these parts of our souls that have incarnated so far, bound to a specific place, body, time, and suffering, continue to be challenged and tormented in the lower astral plane. And that is why the astral plane had such a terrible abundance of deceased soul parts, of fractal and energy demons, which are attracted there, which today still nourishes the entire Earth grid. And that is why we also have the resonance as total Earth inhabitants, which takes place here on this planet. It's just an incredible scale of what these old timelines that we were incarnated in that never cease to exist unless we remember it. We can dissolve this and bring the astral body parts back into our unity. That is simply what we have to do with a normal consciousness, which actually takes a whole lifetime to find out where we are and how many of them there are. Let's just assume that there are perhaps only 5 or 10. Find them out now. You usually need a whole lifetime for this. If you take someone to help you who you can trust, who doesn't immediately sick an archangel on your cheek again, which you have to pay again with your soul parts, or have to pull off other shamanic rituals so that lower astral beings help you, who call themselves doctors, angels, and deities, who are still stuck there themselves, who have to feed on your energy, which is why you have to worship them, so that they do something for you there, because they have no desire to step down from this level 2001. These are all the things you get on the market, and very few people talk about it, because they themselves are in astral captivity and have to serve this being how to get out of it. They have not found the key themselves, but still ask other beings to help and lose their soul parts in the new cage alone, as it is structured nowadays. And then it does you no good to be in love and gratitude all day long. That doesn't help you at all. You have to get off your ass and really do something about it. You have to work every day. And that's why they keep us busy here, busy. And that has to be done. So now you have to sit down and see where you resonate. Maybe you do a regression. I don't know how you get there. There are an incredible number of paths, just as our consciousness is infinite and eternal. I was also only put on a path that was already known at the time, namely repatriation. And then I did that with customers back then, and also with myself, and now again with many Indian customers, so that you can find out that these things are resolved. Those of you who now say, yes, I have already done a regression, are by no means free of it. Because there are so many things like layers of an onion that have to be done one after the other to get to the things. And a lot of things just love the higher the vibration is in your current consciousness. So you start to be vegan. Go for seafood, surround yourself with people who have consciousness, stop spending your energy on entertainment, on staying down in this matrix. Then you will come on your own. It is served up in front of your feet, what is still going on. And if a whole family, or at least a larger group with whom you are traveling here, for example, the Inlina Level 2 vegans, they could support each other. Let's say you remind me of a nun in your behavioral traits, whatever, and then you can get to certain topics. You can support each other. I just know that. But that is why your own spirituality and the ability to really connect your consciousness and to close off the previous astral guidance, i.e., dark beings and spirits which can no longer guide and control you via your ego. Ego injuries are the main problem, and even if you say something, you always hurt your ego right away. It doesn't work that way. You really have to be able to feel that it is love. When someone engages with you in whatever form, there is energy here. Any form of communication and debate. 2001 is love, yes, and it is there for you to serve yourself and see what 2001, what other programs am I running? And many people know this subconsciously in their little room, what they are doing. But you have to seriously look yourself in the eye and say, yes, okay, I realize that I am selfish, I am constantly wounded in my ego, I am not capable of criticism, I don't look at myself, I only ever look at what others have. Yes, and always so hypocritical, everything is fine with me, you can forget that. So look for you send on timelines, soul parts bound on old timelines, astral body parts, and get them back. Of course, they have to be cleaned and detached and then integrated into the unit. Let's assume you manage to get maybe 10 back. Then you can imagine on your own that they need this present body that you are currently inhabiting. They cannot be removed from the astral plane with any other. This means that you often attract the wrong deceased soul parts due to your current resonance and your thoughts, and also the weakness you have for your own consciousness, i.e., the lack of self-love, e.g. alcoholized smokers. All the weak addictive substances you have taken in this life are often already present in the astral body and you can't get them out. You have no room in your astral bus to invite your own soul parts. This means that before we can do this, the astral body must first be cleansed of the wrong deceased soul parts that have been attached to you due to resonance. Because the astral plane does not sort things out, it is simply there immediately. If you are sad, if you are angry, if you have certain emotions that are outside of love and gratitude 2001, then you are immediately at home in the lower astral plane and your astral body fills its pockets and goes shopping. It's like this, and they have to be unpacked. Therefore, we recommend you here and our team to replace the oubli deceased. This is the oublino. And the oubli for the timelines will follow soon, where we will simply retrieve the soul parts from the old timelines and work on them together here in this body. So if you now bring them back into your body, certain people have to be visited again, resonances have to be established. Maybe you have to travel to places again, where you simply say goodbye to this place in love and gratitude and rewrite your entire DNA, that this place was really useful here, so to speak, where it fulfilled you. Then you can also remove your soul parts from this place, take it home with you and take it with you into unity after your natural demise here on this earth, which was the goal, the original life task of your soul, to take it with you here, i.e. to pack it up on the side. And of course there is also what I have often said, we are here to save a soul's life. And I have often said that you will do it yourself. You have to save your own life by awakening your old timelines, your bound soul parts and astral body parts on old timelines. Point 1, cleanse it. Point 2, bring it back into this physical body. Point 3 and point 4 in this physical body. Work through the resonances together with it and put it in order. And that includes interpersonal relationships. And that's where we come to the answer of the Lina Level 2 group, why we founded it on Telegram in the first place, which carries an incredible weight with it and also has an incredible development behind it, where you can say, yes, they are really ready to look at it. You can talk to them about it without them being immediately pissed off in their ego and changing seminar leaders, but they are really serious about it. They really mean it. They look at it and say, yes, I'm going to do some soul searching. I'll swallow it now. I know they wouldn't hurt me. Why should we do that, by the way? Why would we really want to hurt someone? We want to go through the jungle and the astral plane with you, 2001, in order to bring the field back into order by hanging together. Because we had something to do with every person we resonate with in a previous life, including you. This is the answer to the Level 2 group. Everyone in the community knows each other from previous lives. Whether short or fleeting is irrelevant. The aim of this group is to put these old connections in order and to love yourself in the end so that you can really let go of yourself now. This means that the greatest task is to meet in love and gratitude and in forgiveness every evolved soul who has actually brought changes of consciousness to the physical plane and reality here on this earth. And who have not just eaten wisdom from a spoon and read from books, or perhaps studied the Veden for 20 years in order to then write a few clever books and then be celebrated as a hero, but who have not got anything together in their lives, have neither had children nor actually built a house or know what physical life looks like here in this matrix. That's why they can't really help people to get them out, because they don't know where they're stuck. And that's the issue with the whole thing. So you have to look for someone who has gone through exactly the same life developments and mastered them and got out of it and said to themselves, yes, watch out, that won't happen to me again, that I'll find myself in a cemetery, or that my parents will perhaps have me buried in church, all things like that, or that my parents will say prayers for me. It has to be sorted out, because you can't still have connections to people who curse and hate you every day because you got out, because you let them down, the poor family. Yes, a solution must be found. So you have to work on being at peace, at least in a certain form of peace. Let's just say the simplest form of neutrality with everyone you have come into resonance with in this life. And to say, watch out, I haven't called you for 20 years now, means that he has already forgotten me, at least to a very, very large extent. So we can also factor in the time. The time of separation plays a major role. And again, if I want to work on the timelines in the past life, I also need a lot of energy, rest, and abstinence from the past and this matrix. Then I can't say I still have a daughter and I'm thinking about her. You have nothing. You have neither children nor a daughter. I know what I'm telling you here, and I'm doing the same for myself, because I don't believe in anyone here on this earth anymore. I don't know, I've been betrayed just like you. My trust in any form of humanoid life form is destroyed. And if you want to work on that, then you can show me. But I don't think so. I don't give an advance on faith that anyone will do it. I also don't believe that anyone needs my sympathy or pity anymore. I've long since moved on from that. Yes, that's just the way it is. That used to be the case. They got me with compassion and pity, and I forgave myself and completely forgot that I was actually still here because of my life's work. And that is also what I would like to share with you. Be careful that you don't make any decisions out of pity, or buy up any stores or businesses, or pick up dogs on the street because you feel sorry for them. Folks, this is what the lower astral plane works with, because they know we can be gotten with pity. If you catch yourself feeling sorry, slap a real left side and right side right away. Stop immediately if you just think, oh shit, is that bad? No, everyone has a job to do here. What he experiences is exactly right. And they all start at the very, very back. And for those who we can't even talk about now because they've been vaccinated against coronavirus, it's over for them anyway. I don't know what else to do for corona vaccinated people. They have already rebuilt their bodies. These are AI portals. The natural DNA that I'm talking about here, that they still exist in parallel in old timelines, doesn't work. They have separated themselves from their old timelines. This means that they are no longer able to transport them home with this body. And you can see that in the vaccinated people. They are sad, their souls weep from their eyes every day. They are no longer laughing, they are dying. Precisely because the reason for their existence cannot be fulfilled. No matter how long it continues to breathe this air, it is pointless. And that's why you can hand over your consciousness to the AI, because it's better not to have a purpose here at all. That is the problem. And all those who are still alive, you can see that they are creative, they develop, they are alive, because the soul always has the hope until the last breath. It manages to bring back all the old parts of the soul to transform them into unity with the body back home. And while you're still alive here, you'll be 2001 with this energy, the amount of energy of these Bowie units that are transformed back. Once you have found yourself on previous timelines, you can access your metaphysical powers again. This in turn, and this is the key to the actual absolute homecoming and the so-called, I don't know what you would call it, enlightenment or something, so that you can sort of go home. You need this amount of energy. This amount of energy is stuck in timelines in the past, which is why you have certain resonances and sometimes have to go somewhere again to visit someone. And if that's in Alaska, I don't know, to repeat that experience again on this timeline and then heal and let it go in love and gratitude. But it was worth it. But when I have these matrix programs running inside me again and again, and they're also being watched again and again through films on the internet, I've become an absolute, I don't watch films anymore because the programming is so intense. So the normal standard programming of a normal inhabitant of the earth is, okay, so you are born, it doesn't matter what kind of parents you have, whether good or bad. If you just have bad parents, then you go to a therapist later, treat it, make a little sense back, and that's it. Then you go to work, then you get yourself your dream partner, preferably in some form or other, who's really nice to you, is of course always nice to you, just cuddles you all day long, and then you have a couple of children who are also really nice. That is always the goal. And in the end, you die lovingly and happily. You still eat really tasty things, then you can have a bit of fun, party, go bowling, take a 4-week vacation in the Caribbean, turquoise waters, swim with dolphins, and then you work again for a whole year. That's wonderful. The meaning of life is absolutely fantastic, which is why we have extremely happy pensioners running along the roads, even before the coronavirus vaccination. And the happiest people, the most grateful people who loved children, who loved each other, who simply embraced us with their hearts and a smile because we go to work for them and they don't have to go to work anymore, and so on. They are incredibly grateful when they are allowed to let us in at the checkout because we may have a hectic business day and they simply have nothing to do. All day long they're barfing that you have to jump the queue at the checkout because a toddler is a shrine in the car. There are no more feelings for that. Okay? These are the lucky pensioners who have managed to pick up all their senses. That is the problem we have. These are the programs that are left behind. And then there's the fact that they're all over 60. That's what I've seen. In practice, between 55 and 60, it starts bam, 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 one illness after another, one tablet after another. So that was the meaning of our lives. Wonderful. They end up in intensive care and then they are pushed out to the crematorium. It's very simple. Goal achieved, nothing accomplished in this life. I only know very, very few people who were still really grateful and happy. And I don't know if it's that nice anymore, was whether they talked themselves into it, whether it was some kind of self-preservation program. A lot of women who are just, I'm so happy and you eat nicely, I don't need anything, and then I die of breast cancer. So there's something wrong in their heads. In any case, there are people who are fake happy. I don't know how that went either, but that's the program that was left in the matrix, that you're happy all day around the clock. If you were to realize this and delete what your ideas of a happy life are, then you have a minimal chance, or the maximum chance, let's put it this way, to get to the real resonance and the life task, which is, for example, would represent a catastrophic life from the D point of view. That you, e.g., let's say you have 20 partnerships, one in Hong Kong, one in Florida, one in the Maldives, and everywhere you go you meet someone and you're surprised that between 2 weeks and a year you keep getting separated and it just doesn't work out. But here's what you did. You left everyone in peace to some extent. There were no knives flying, no war of the roses, and you were able to separate wonderfully. Then you will have more fulfillment in your life and be much happier in yourself than someone who has experienced the previous process, which I have just mentioned, up to the intensive care unit. Because he lived, he experienced, he lived, and the German language tells us that very clearly. He lives. What does a normal person have? He lives his life when he's busy around the clock between changing diapers, doing tax accounting, and in the end, pulling together pocket money that's just enough to pay the rent and his pension. What is it? What did he do? Nothing at all. He hasn't achieved anything. It is not bound to its actual life task, i.e., that which is still alive in earlier timelines, place, time and body, because the astral body is also a body. It is still walking around there. These are the haunting spirits that we have everywhere here, in the castles, in the forests, and above all in the water, in the oceans. The dead are everywhere. They walk around on the street. They have no idea what has happened. guys, my body is gone, but I still want to run home. I can't remember where it is. They have rebuilt everything. Where my house was yesterday is a highway today. I don't know. Have you seen all the dead people on the highway? Yes, I think they are looking for a home here. That is the problem. And they know that the only chance they have of getting home is in a body, so they take yours. I would recommend that you put on white very quickly. I would recommend that you all dress in uniform. You know when to do it, to speak intentions prayers every day, and to keep your mind very clear and see what thoughts would be put into it. Do you want to go to the fridge, or who wants to go to the fridge? Man, get a clear head and think about what you're doing with all those ghosts. And when you have this under control, when you manage to eat without the spirits being in your body and your head, when you are truly at peace, when you have your body at peace, then you have it in freedom and purified in such a way that you can pack up your own deceased soul parts. And they'll be there so quickly, you won't even be able to look. You can collect them just like the raindrops when it really falls from the sky. It's quite simple. Only you have to. That's what you have to do. They want the matrix, so to speak. And the agenda is to separate the head and the heart from each other in such a way that it is impossible for you to capture these soul parts, enter into communication, and then return to unity. That is the problem we have. And all people who carry this ancient knowledge within them know that this is actually the kind of prison we find ourselves in here. They have all passed away. It is unclear. Everyone I learned from is no longer here. I can't tell you where they've all gone. They have died, been cleared away, or even committed suicide. I have no idea what happened here. In any case, they were hunted. And we should not carry this knowledge within us. And the mere fact that you know this now means that you are practically labeled an enemy of the state. We are not supposed to have this knowledge. This is the prison. Look how pretty they've made our prison. You can afford a beautiful front garden. You can also buy a house on credit, even a pool, finance a car. Look, and you can be satisfied. What do you want with your fucking old soul parts? Just stay here. We make you happy. We'll put a hybrid man by your side who will lovingly cuddle you every day, cook your meals, change your child's diapers, and simply be kind to you. But please don't expect more, because the OPs, the organic portals, the hybrids that they have placed here on this earth, they are cloned beings. They are designed to entertain you, in the truest sense of the word. Think of the Truman Show, of his best friend on the bottle bank who said, "Truman, can you really trust me? I've known you since you were in the box, and the big boss has known you since you were born, my dear Truman." Exactly, they know us. They know everything about us, everything. They know much more than we do, and that's why they know what kind of partner we want. What we long for when we look at the stars. You know everything about us, okay? And they also listen to us every day because this matrix does not exist. What you see is an illusion, but you don't need to be afraid of them. There is nothing stronger and more powerful than that which is incarnated with you, what you are. If you tell them, watch out, stay away from me, you send, I'm doing an aura clearing now, I'm doing a clearing with Ayama now. I cleanse myself every day with Ewiz, and I know exactly what you need and what I need. But I also know when you come, when you drive past, honk at me and want me to say hello. Hell? An agreement to go to hell? No, you won't get it from me. I do not greet you with this. Yes, I do not greet you with service or greet God. No, I don't want to go down. I want to go up, back to unity. That's why you only get a pura vida from me. It's quite simple. Everywhere they pick you up the consent so that you have started another incarnation in this timeline from which you are again place bound, and now the vaccinated ones are of course also body bound and not coming home. If you fall in love with a vaccinated person these days, or think that's your great love, then that's another great interlude and a great magic, because they know about your weakness, which is compassion and your own desires. Delete them. These desires you think you have are not even yours, because the truth of your desires is solely to incarnate here, to tidy up the timelines, to collect your soul parts, to strengthen your metaphysical powers, and to go home with this collective power. That is the only reason why you and your soul have incarnated, and why she has prepared everything for you. And when you begin to ask for help, you begin to realize that everything you encounter is a gift in every form. Everything. Because you can't grind your consciousness any better than on what they put in front of you. You can't confirm it better than when they annoy you, when they come at night, attack you, 2001. Then you don't have to go to the victim, but then you know that you are interesting enough, that they have taken notice of you, and that you are on the right track. Any of you who have black magic attacks can celebrate any day, and yes, I am on the correct timeline. I am in the process of catching up with myself again and bringing myself home in all that I am. So now you can wait for our OBs, you can be absolutely creative yourself, you are welcome to try to find out about timelines on the internet, and if you like, you can also share it with us, and as soon as we have something new about it, you'll hear from us with a piece. Secondly, it is very important for us that you find out when, at what times, what character traits of yours, above all specifically, when you are with other people, with people who are high vibrating, what do they resonate with you? What do they show you? What are they ranting about? What are they communicating to you? What's wrong with you? And look at this. Perhaps the whole thing fits into an earlier picture, into an earlier event where you are still stuck and find yourself in it again and again by mistake. So you can, without making a long journey with your airplane, say from your own insight, oh yes, I'm still in the Middle Ages. I see them hitting me in the back of the neck with an axe. I even know that this person also exists in this life and has met me. So take a look at the synchronicities. Because everything is served right in front of you. Believe me, everything is right here because we control the matrix and not the other side. That is still the case. If this matrix, as we still have it now, is still largely bound to our DNA, even though they have allowed our blood to flow into the earth through blood wars, although they have altered genetics through vaccinations and now the latest vaccination, compulsory vaccinations, the astral bodies and our consciousness are still stronger than this illusion which does not exist. This has been scientifically proven, okay, so this body doesn't exist either, yes. And what I should add, so to speak, is how I can tell that I'm stuck in an old timeline, also in my whole behavior, my nature, the course of my life, for example. I met someone who had worked for the German railroads for 30 years, and he would still be driving a train today if we hadn't done a repatriation. And always the same route, where I ask myself, what kind of common sense can you use to do that? Who can stand that? And he was happy, he was satisfied with this job and came to me because he said he somehow had the feeling that he needed to change something in his life. And he read about me in the newspaper, and then we do a regression. Then we find out that he also traveled by train in a previous life, also on this route, but was shot, murdered. I don't know exactly, the thing was blown up, I don't know, we suspected a bomb, so that he is still astrally traveling there and has been given exactly this life task in this life. Just like a bus driver, truck driver always drives the same route because he is looking for himself on the road where he got lost in order to slip into the body. That's why, as long as they enjoy it, they haven't found each other. The soul hopes, so to speak, to arrive again, to slip into this body. They try to find themselves, to remember. That's why, from a therapeutic point of view, you can recreate a kind of experience. We did that recently with my daughter, who was thrown into the sea. Her hands were tied. The piracy, she got a barrel over her head and then swam in the sea and screamed around and couldn't breathe. And she was always calling out, and nobody heard her because nobody got her out of the water, if it was done with a cardboard box. Of course, the people on the beach looked really weird, but it was just really important, where my hands and legs were tied up and my legs were all swollen. Only her legs were swollen. And yes, because that was in the water, the rest of the body was not in the water. And all that sort of thing, everything can be evoked by recalling the event, by feeling. Or my daughter, for example, my other daughter, could not speak, did not open her mouth. If you have asked her a question, pause for half an hour before she can answer. Until we found out that she wasn't stupid or had a problem with something, didn't understand my question, spoke a different language, but that she had a gag in her mouth and couldn't speak because she was tied up in a little house where she was locked up, gagged, and couldn't scream. She always wanted to say something, but she couldn't because nothing came out. So we cut off the gag and put another one on her. Then she kicked the door, any door, away with a kick and astralized herself with her astral body from this memory. freed from this emotional blockade. So you can recreate things, or even an event from a daughter of mine where he was shot in the back by his own people in the Second World War. So there is zero trust in her family and in those she lives with, because she has left the war, said she is now going home to her family. Yes, the war is over for them, and then her own people shot her back and didn't believe that someone she trusted so much would do it. And so far, trust is simply the issue. And now you can practice this with a toy gun or a firecracker in order to simply repeat this shot, this experience of being shot in the back by your own family. Then wake up and intercept yourself there, so to speak, and retrieve your astral body. You will see, if you try to recreate these things in a sensible, safe way, of course, so that you have the emotional shock experience. I have now done this myself with my biggest daughter, because we had a knife attack from my first partner, her father. And in our case, all it took was for one of my current partner or spouse to pick up a knife, and we were in the kitchen. We were just trembling. So it was simply a shock when someone was there with a knife in their hand to evoke that, to rewrite it again. These are just examples from us. There is an incredible amount for you to do. And I hope you have now understood a little bit more, 2001, how you can activate the astral body parts from the timelines, how you can then also rewrite them. And you are welcome to try this on your own. It is very, very important to train these things, to practice them, and also to want to bring them into intention. And by the way, if you are in such a time loop again, which doesn't happen every day, different situations, triggers, words from fellow human beings can catapult you, the astral, into this past, bring an injury, a time loop into a victim program, although you are not a victim in this life. Then it can sometimes take a day or two to get out again. Or for some, it lasts a lifetime. They don't come out at all and scream their whole lives, argue their whole lives. They may still be standing in court in the Middle Ages and trying to speak for themselves in the plea and defense. I don't know why some people always have to shout like that, but that's just the way it is. Or have to argue all the time, 2001. Whoever they're arguing with is probably not you. All these things are to be seen. Now that again. Therefore, pull yourselves together, call your astral body, and begin to enter completely into unity, into your consciousness. If you find a spiritual teacher out there who reports something similar to me, I ask that you put us in touch, that you let us know about it, so that we can just see that maybe a greater potential can be summarized. Unfortunately, I haven't come across it, and I know why, but maybe you'll find out. See you soon, and pura again, dear ones.